What is the right denomination? This is a question that many new Christians and some even older Christians struggle with. A lot of people are fighting and bickering over what the right denomination is and whether or not you should do this or you shouldn't do that. But I say to you, there are two things you must ask yourself when you ask yourself, what denomination should I be? First of all, I want to say I'm coming from a position where I'm non-denominational. Non-denominational, I believe that I get it straightly from Jesus Christ. The Bible is my main authority for who Jesus Christ is and his actions and things like that. I don't answer to a pastor or a priest or whoever, but instead I answer to Christ alone. And that's what I believe. Non-denominational, you don't participate in any specific traditions, but it's normally just the essentials of Christ. That's what it is. I mean, maybe I got that definition wrong, but I could have sworn that non-denomination is just literally just that. Just I follow Christ. No extra traditions or anything like that. First thing, the two things that I was going to say are, the first thing is, how is it affecting your walk with Christ? And does it have the core elements of what Christ taught? So first of all, how is it affecting your walk with Christ? So if a denomination does not agree that Jesus Christ lived, taught, died, and rose from the dead, it's going to affect your walk with Christ, because now you're going to be walking and believing that Christ is not God, and instead he is a key to getting to God, right? And that can become very dangerous, because Christ says multiple times before Abraham, I am, and he says multiple times, he says the word became flesh, and nobody comes to the Father except through me. That's the gateway thing. And also he said, I and God are one. I and the Father am one. Multiple times Jesus says he is God. So that can be dangerous if you're walking down that situation. Another thing, if it is, once again, the traditions, those traditions are causing you to sin or moving you away from God. If it's more about the community over God, then that can become dangerous, because now you're not going to church to learn about who Christ is, but instead to get around your friends and stuff like that. That can become a dangerous situation. And some denominations have that where the Bible is not the main focus, right? That's not the main source of who God is. Instead, you get it from a priest or a pastor or certain kinds of people, and it just becomes somewhere where now it's hard to learn about who Christ is if you don't do your own research, right? And I would suggest, first of all, do your own research. I'm not going to give you all the questions or all the answers, because I just don't have them. I'm not God. I think the most important thing you'd have to do before actually searching for a denomination is prayer. Pray to God before you even go and decide to go search that, because maybe God's not even calling you to a denomination. Maybe he's not even calling you to go and try to seek out some different way of life, right? So traditions can be dangerous. That's all I'm trying to get at. And ultimately, I want to say, from my friends, my brothers and sisters who are of different denominations, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you're going to hell because you believe in a different denomination than me. Which, I mean, I guess it depends on how you believe Christ is. That's what I'm saying. But I'm not going to tell you you're going to hell. I don't know that. I'm not God. But I am going to say that ultimately, if you believe Jesus lived, taught, died, and rose from the dead, I believe you can be saved. And as long as you do the will of the Father, I believe that you will be walking within God's good graces and you will have his favor. So whether you're Catholic, you're Christian, you're Baptist, or you're, whatever else, whatever 20 other ones there are, Orthodox, Catholic, whatever it may be, you can inherit the kingdom of heaven, because that's not what separates you from God. But instead, what separates you from God is moving away from who God is, putting God in a small box, and saying, God, you are now who I make you. You are not who you claim to be. You are who I believe you to be. Like, for instance, there is like a newer age Christianity that believes that we can just put God in a small box. God is all loving. God is this. God is all accepting. That is not the case. God is all loving, but he's not all accepting, because you cannot be loving if you're willing to accept every single decision somebody makes, especially if it hurts you or someone else. That would not be loving. And that's why I say you got to be very careful. And I tell people, be careful all the time. Be very careful with who you surround yourself with, and the people that you go around and the churches you go to, or the whatever it may be, because some of these denominations, they are to separate you from Christ. Some of these denominations are just denominations. But the reason why I am non-denominational is because I don't see a point in doing things like traditions or whatever else, because ultimately I'm here to have a relationship with Christ. The only tradition I have is prayer and reading my Bible. That's the only traditions I have. Now, I'm not saying you can't go to church, or going to church is a sin, or being Catholic is a sin. I've said before, being Catholic, being Baptist, being whatever else, Orthodox, whatever, it does not matter to me. As long as you believe Jesus Christ lived, taught, died, rose from the dead, and you still believe that faith without works is dead, which means that you only inherit the kingdom of heaven by doing the will of God, not being good, not by works alone, but instead by God's grace through faith without works. Okay? So now you have to understand, those are the core beliefs that I believe that are righteous in order to actually being able to walk with God. But if any denomination contradicts that, saying, oh, well, this is the way, God says, I am the truth, the way, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Christ is the only way. If something teaches you that there's more than one way to Christ, it might not be the best place to go to search for Christ. So I would just say, be careful. Don't take it from me alone. Take it from the Bible. Look at what God teaches us. Read the Bible first. Pray. Whatever you need to do. But make that decision. And if whatever strikes you, whatever the evidence points to, go check it out. Take a risk. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like I said, I'm non-denominational, but I'm willing to listen to everybody else. Why? Open-mindedness means you're willing to consider the alternative, not believe it, but consider it. So be willing to consider other points of views, especially fellow Christians, because at the end of the day, we're all followers of Christ, and hopefully we all believe that Christ is King. Okay, God bless, and I'll see you soon.